Hello, this is Mark Herman, and what you are looking at is Lee Moves North, the June 23rd Gettysburg Campaign scenario, which I will come back to at the end of this discussion in a moment. So, Lee Moves North went on the P500, I think, the middle of last week. So it's been about 5 days or so, and right now we're about a little over 100 orders short of the P500, threshold. So first of all, thank you to everybody who has supported the game so far, and I'm hoping if you see this, you might get motivated to also order it, because what you're looking at is basically final art. These are the final map art. That's the final counter art. You can see the cover off to the upper left there in the shot, and the rules, the series rules are basically unchanged from Army of the Potomac, which is doing very well. So thank you for all those who supported that design, and I'm looking forward to seeing some more, feedback and ratings and whatever on that particular project. And I thought that it would be useful to kind of discuss the two main Gettysburg campaign scenarios that really use all of the maps and kind of describe what's been happening. And I've been having a great time. This is sort of like this whole series has been sort of a bucket list thing that I've always wanted to do, and so now, because of all of you, I'm getting a chance to do it, so thank you for that. So let me describe what you're looking at. So we're looking in the northwest direction. The Potomac River is at the bottom, and we're looking northeast direction, and the orange dye you can see in the distance is Gettysburg. So that's where Gettysburg is, and a little beyond that is Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and a little bit off to the more of the right side of that last map is York, Pennsylvania. So that's where Ewell's Corps, is, in the June 28th scenario. That's where they are. They're already off, kind of raiding and knocking out railroad lines and threatening Harrisburg, and York was already captured and all that. And off the left side of the map, which you can't see because I don't want to move the camera, because I always just screw that up anyway, is where Lee's army is basically sitting. That's the 1st and the 3rd Corps. And if you were to connect the left side of the map to that orange dye, that's the Chambersburg Pike that goes to Gettysburg. So whenever you play a Gettysburg scenario, Lee's always coming from that left side, which is coming from west to east across those mountains, and Ewell's coming always from the north edge of the map, which is coming down from Carlisle, Pennsylvania, and the Union Army and Frederick, Maryland is where my finger just was, is where the Union Army is when Meade takes over. So the June 28th scenario, which is not the one you're looking at right now, is basically the geography and the geometry of where the armies and their components are. In almost all my play tests of that scenario, you end up basically coming up with a battle at or near Gettysburg, because as the armies close, that's where you can see the orange dye. If you got part of your army off that edge of the map and you're coming from that side of the map, Lee's going to concentrate around Gettysburg, and if the Union Army wants to fight them, they're going to come north or make them come after them south. But basically, you're going to be fighting in that upper right map. So that is the scenario that sort of tends, just because of the realities of space and time, you're going to end up fighting in the Gettysburg area in that particular scenario. However, the one you're looking at right now is the June 23rd, 1863 scenario. Hooker is still in command of the Army of the Potomac, and the scenario starts when Hooker has taken the Army of the Potomac from the Fredericksburg area and is just now crossing just a little bit to the right, off the right edge of this video. The Potomac River obviously keeps going in that direction. He's crossing the river, and Lee has already got, Ewell's 2nd Corps and a bunch of cavalry is already up in this is the Cumberland, I think this is in the shot. Here's my hand. This is the Cumberland Valley. This is Pleasant Valley, I think it gets called in some accounts. And over here, as I showed you before, is Fredericksburg. And this is South Mountain, right here. And that's Catoctin Mountain over there. So in this particular scenario, it's a little bit more sandboxy, because the Union Army is coming up. Lee is not totally over the river, and he's not as committed as you are in the June 28th scenario, where you're already in the upper left-hand map. He doesn't have to do that. So what I decided to do with this playthrough was follow the Antietam plan. And what happened in and by the way, the Antietam campaign scenario is 4 maps. And in that scenario, of course, near Frederick, the famous Lost Order, 3 Cigars, Order 191, it goes by, it's all the above. McClellan all of a sudden has the aha moment where, I think it's on September 13th, 1862, he goes, I know where Lee is, and he's basically shoots out from the defenses of Washington in a more aggressive manner, and you end up with the Battle of South Mountain, which is, here's all the gaps that they fight over, and Sharpsburg is, let me see if it's just a little bit here is where Sharpsburg is. That's where the Battle of Antietam takes place. Now, Lee's original plan was to do it, he basically was already at Frederick, Maryland, but the problem he had was Harper's Ferry was Union controlled, and he sent Jackson's, a good portion of his army comes over here and captures, this is Maryland Heights, there's Harper's Ferry, and over here is Loudon Heights. And so the Jackson takes that position out, but when McClellan comes roaring forward at South Mountain, Jackson's down in the valley. A lot of Lee's forces are further up here, and so basically his army. McClellan has the opportunity to kind of come between the 2 wings of the Confederate Army. Of course, once he gets through South Mountain, he really slows down. He's not as aggressive, and we all know how Antietam comes out. But in this scenario, June 23rd, 1863, I decided to try to execute the plan that Lee was thinking about when Order 191 disrupted all that. So what's happening, and I'm going to walk around, you'll see my arm, but I'll try to talk loud, so if I get, but I'll first point. So I'm going to go into the background there, and you see a bunch of forces towards the orange dye. That's where I'm going right now. So this is Ewell's 2nd Corps, and this is the Union 1st, 11th, and 3rd Corps, which is that wing, is trying, and remember, Baltimore, these guys are trying to come around the flank and also draw off those forces. Obviously, the command structure dictated that. And in Lee, who is actually right here, by the way, he has got the 1st and 3rd Corps are coming, have now already gotten, they pushed the cavalry back, and they're now in the Pleasant Valley. And this is the beginning of the battle for Pleasant Valley, and we'll see how that all goes. But again, try to bust through the Union and get closer to Baltimore, which scores, victory points and all those kind of things, and victory conditions and winning battles. And so it's broken into 2 discrete fights because the mountains are in the way, which is, a feature of the terrain. And again, when you read any Gettysburg book, they cover where these gaps and things are, but that's not where the battle happened, so they don't get a lot of detail. So I've been discovering all the possibilities of the terrain and the situation, and quite frankly, I've been playing it continuously, and there's still so much to learn and to experience with this scenario. So this is more the sandbox scenario. So again, June 23rd, what you're looking at is sort of the sandbox scenario in the sense that you're not put into a situation where converging on Gettysburg is one of the main options. The June 28th scenario with Meade in command now, with the Union Army at Frederick, again, which is there, going north with Lee, 2 wings of Lee's army having to converge at the orange dye, you can see how the Battle of Gettysburg takes place at that particular moment. So again, because this starts earlier, there's many more options. And then the question people ask is, well, I don't have enough room for 8 maps. I will tell you that I don't know how many East Front games I have that have, the really cool OCS system and, the entire Vance von Voorhees East Front games. I got tons and tons of multi-map games that I've only played on rare occasion at a convention because of all the maps. But this one, like those very good games, comes with multiple scenarios. So there are 12 scenarios in the game. 7 take place on one map, either map B or E mostly, which is where Antietam is and where Gettysburg is. But then you have these other 5 scenarios, which are various multi-map scenarios where you get to play get this big picture that you can see before you. And then, of course, there's going to be a vassal module for it, which is already almost in the works. It's already on the short list to get done. So you will have the opportunity to play the whole thing out via vassal, or you go to a convention and you'll have the table space. And what I've been doing, and I've been practicing, I'll put some notes in the playbook for it, is you can kind of do a conveyor belt like you can with Army of the Potomac. In other words, you have if you could put two maps side by side like you can in any North Africa game, you can play as they leave one map, you just pull that map away and you add the next maps up. So you can play it even on two tables or one table. It just takes a little bit more shifting maps in and out as you move forces off of one map and onto another one. But regardless, and as you can see, the counter density, this is all the counters. So you don't have a classic East Front, tall counter stacks with tons of markers and all that stuff. So again, the beauty of the grand tactical level. So with that, I will kind of cut this one short. I think I've said enough, but June 23rd scenario, Lee Moves North on the P500. Looking forward for a little bit more support so we can get this one to the printer. And if it makes the P500 sooner than later, I would say that there is an outside chance that you could have it in your hands by Christmas. So I'm hoping for a Christmas present for all of us. Anyway, have a great day, and this is Mark Herman signing out.